Well, I respect their right to do that. I question why the first time in American history a president has won every swing state and is also best friends, and his largest donor was a man who owns and runs the internet. So I would hope that that would be investigated and that we would see whether or not it was an anomaly or something else that happened on election night in America when Kamala Harris was filling up stadiums with people who supported her, and Donald Trump was not able to do that.
She's trying to use ABC and The View to get even with me. But with me, we fight back. I'll probably sue Rosie because she doesn't tell the facts. As an example, I'm worth many billions of dollars. Now, she said I was bankrupt. I never went bankrupt, so probably I'll sue her.
Rosie O'Donnell grabs a mic and Donald Trump's ego strolls into the blast zone. A live TV meltdown so brutal. We're talking scorched earth, folks. Rosie didn't just drag him, she gift-wrapped his humiliation and mailed it first class. Curious how a billionaire got body slammed by a comedian with zero fear? Buckle up. This isn't just a roast, it's a 5-alarm Trump BBQ, and the flames are fabulous.
Are you watching this moron speak? Can he form a coherent sentence? He is the worst thing that ever happened. Period. And he's just babbling like an incoherent asshole. He's like Dr. Doom. He's the worst thing. Oh, you know what? He just lies, lies, lies. I am done with Donald Trump. Let's be done with Donald, okay? Done with Donald.
Donald Trump, America's most animated Cheeto Puff, is swaggering across the television screen, convinced the world is his poorly ventilated oyster. His tie? Long enough to trip a horse. His tan? Courtesy of a pumpkin spice factory explosion. And his ego? Oh, it's hovering just outside Earth's atmosphere, waving at satellites. Enter Rosie O'Donnell, wielding more sass than a drag brunch on bottomless mimosa day. And in mere minutes, she launches a verbal drone strike so devastating, even Trump's hairpiece tries to file for witness protection.
I never liked him.
Oh, really?
If you're 55 and you grew up on Long Island, you know that he's a fake, a phony, and a fraud.
Right.
There was no mystery to me.
Right.
So I didn't have him on ever.
What is it like? What has it been like for you having the president of the United States criticize your physical appearance?
Well, not only my physical appearance, everything. My sexuality, my parenting, my wife. Like, he went really bat crazy.
What is it about you that drew this out of him?
Well, that I told the truth about him at a time when everyone was afraid. But then I did the really offensive thing to him. I told the truth that he was bankrupt 4 times.
That's what did it.
He's not a self-made man, that he got his daddy's money.
See, Trump has always considered himself the undefeated heavyweight champion of clapbacks. He's the kind of guy who thinks sarcasm is policy and insults are currency. But when Rosie stepped into the ring, no, correction, when she strolled in like she was late to brunch but still had time to destroy a man's legacy, she didn't just roast him. She slow-cooked him, flipped him halfway, added seasoning, and served him with a side of, "You really thought you had a chance?"
Well, not only my physical appearance, everything. My sexuality, my parenting, my wife. Like, he went really bat crazy. You know,
and did that make you go bat crazy?
Well, I could say that when he first did it, when he wasn't running for office, it was like just this loser blowhard. Like, who really cared? But
Gas bag. The great
gas
bag.
bag, which is a great book. And I don't really travel in his circles. It's not like I'm ever at Le Cirque and I see some Trump people. You know, I'm a normal person who goes to the mall and the Cheesecake Factory. So Donald Trump's opinion of me, not really relevant. But when he got to be president, it was very trippy. It took me about 6 months to regain my equilibrium.
Is that true?
I feel like I fell through the ice, and I just was waiting to resurface.
It's a badge of honor to be disliked and hated by this man.
Let's be real. Trump's entire personality is a high school bully who inherited a real estate empire and never emotionally matured past his 5th meltdown over McDonald's for getting his extra ketchup. He talks like a man who thinks nuance is a brand of cologne and acts like anyone who questions him must be part of a vast conspiracy run by nasty women and smart people. So naturally, when Rosie O'Donnell, comedian, actress, former talk show host, and full-time nonsense detector, called him out, it wasn't just a celebrity spat. It was a national pastime.
Oh, I just want him arrested.
You think it's tonight?
I think it's going to happen because this is America and nobody is above the law.
Do you miss doing The View because you were so good on it?
No, I don't.
Do you think you'll ever go back? Because I think you'd be great on it.
I don't think so, but thank you.
All right, good seeing you, Rose.
He's very dumb. He's not a smart man. And we all have to face that, you know, our inability to face the things that are disturbing and to just believe in alternative reality.
Live television has this magical quality. There's no editing, no filters, no time to scream at your lawyers in the background. And there stood Rosie. No cue cards, no hesitation, just years of pent-up rage wrapped in comedic timing sharper than Trump's legal team's exit strategy. She came with receipts, razor-sharp one-liners, and a glint in her eye that said, "I've been waiting for this moment since you thought stakes in universities were solid business models."
Self-made
like
man,
that. Yeah.
that he got his daddy's money,
Right.
and that he also notoriously ripped off all these private contractors. Family businesses all over New Atlantic City went under because of his unethical ways. So I told the truth about him 10 years ago at a time when anyone could have found out those truths about him, but the media decided not to print it while he was running, not to talk about the fact that there was no equivalence between him and Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
They acted like he was a legitimate candidate. So I feel like mainstream media is really responsible.
Now, Trump loves to portray himself as this unshakable titan of industry. But let's face it, this is the same guy who bankrupted a casino where the house literally always wins, unless, of course, the house is run by someone who thinks blackjack is a landscaping technique. Rosie didn't just humiliate Trump by throwing shade, she turned off the sun. Every jab landed like a well-aimed pie to the face of a man who thought his entire life was a sitcom where he was the star, writer, and laugh track. The beauty of the takedown? It wasn't petty. It was performance art with a side of vengeance. Rosie didn't stoop to name-calling. She soared above it like a comedic bald eagle with a vendetta. She dismantled Trump like a piece of IKEA furniture built by a sleep-deprived raccoon, methodical, excruciating, and inevitably ending in emotional splinters. Meanwhile, Trump reacted with all the grace of a Roomba stuck under a couch, confused, noisy, and blindly insisting he was winning. He puffed up like a sad parade balloon losing helium, flustered beyond repair, yet still managing to scream about imaginary poll numbers like a toddler bragging about his imaginary friend's report card. It wasn't just a clapback, it was a symphony of humiliation, played on the world's tiniest violin while Trump stumbled around trying to find a comeback that didn't sound like a rejected slogan from a bad reality show.
Conor McGregor ended up in the Oval Office this week. What do you think that says about the state of US politics?
It's very depressing. And it seems very strange to me that the President of the United States has so many friends who are abusers.
Why do you think...
And, oh, the aftermath. Trump didn't just spiral. He pirouetted into chaos like a malfunctioning Roomba, high on Diet Coke and ego fumes, spinning across a floor littered with glitter, Legos, and broken NDAs. Naturally, he rage-marched straight to social media, the only battlefield where spelling errors and caps lock are considered weapons of mass distraction. He hammered out posts that looked like they were written during a toddler tantrum, with a crayon while blindfolded next to a thesaurus having a midlife crisis. According to Trump, it wasn't humiliation. It was a coordinated hit job. Fake news, deep state, a vast Hollywood conspiracy led by Rosie, Oprah, and possibly Beyonce, because why not throw in some sparkle? He tried to reframe the roast as a heroic takedown of the liberal elite, but instead, it read like a group chat meltdown from a high school drama club president who just got dethroned. And the footage? Oh, it's eternal. It lives on in memes, late-night comedy, and the group chats of millions who needed a good laugh. Like a tribal tattoo or a one-season reality show you pretend you never watched. It's cringy, permanent, and absolutely unforgettable.
President of the United States that has it out for me and has for 20 years when I told the truth about him on a program called The View, where it was my job to talk about pop culture, politics, and I mentioned his bankruptcies, and I mentioned all of the sexual assault charges, and I mentioned that he was not, in fact, the businessman that everyone thinks he is because of the show The Apprentice, where they sold a bunch of lies to America for over 10 years, and half of America believed it. And so he was very angry, to say the least.
Yes.
And he hasn't let it go, and he sort of uses me as a punchline whenever he feels the need.
Let's zoom out for a moment. Rosie's glorious takedown wasn't just personal, it was symbolic. It was a moment when a woman, unapologetically loud, smart, and unwilling to coddle male fragility, stood up to a man who'd coasted on bluster and branding his entire life. It was a mic drop that echoed through every press conference where Trump rambled about windmills causing cancer, or claimed he knew more than the generals, or demanded everyone thank him like he invented gravity. Trump's ego is basically a delicate little greenhouse filled with rare, exotic flowers that need constant watering. Not with water, but with applause, endless flattery, and a steady diet of Fox News reruns. Miss even one day, and boom, wilting meltdown. Enter Rosie O'Donnell, the ultimate drought in this fragile ecosystem. She was the arid desert smack in the middle of his golden Mar-a-Lago oasis, sucking up every drop of his fragile confidence. You could see it in his twitchy eye and the way he kept bringing her up, like a bad song stuck on repeat in his brain. Rosie wasn't just the name to Trump, she was the mosquito buzzing around his head at 3 a.m., the itch in a spot he couldn't reach, the punchline to a joke he totally didn't get but desperately pretended wasn't hilarious. He circled her like a moth to a flame, except instead of gentle attraction, it was more like a desperate narcissist staring at his own reflection, begging for validation. And spoiler alert, the reflection was throwing shade. The kind of shade that leaves sunburn and a bruised ego bigger than Trump's hairdo on a windy day.
Remind people of the truth that lives inside them, so when they're so confused and lied to by our president and this administration, they're able to find that thing about America that they love and that's true and that's real, and remember that feeling and hold on to that feeling as we go through these next very tumultuous weeks as we lead up to the election and the Mueller report finally coming out, that it's going to be very loud and it's going to be very crazy.
While Rosie's verbal demolition of Trump played like a symphony of savage, his reaction was more of a kazoo solo performed during a hurricane. He tried to regain control of the narrative, but by then, the internet had already turned the moment into memes, remixes, and enough reaction videos to power a YouTube black hole. TikTok teens were lip-syncing her lines. Twitter had a field day. Late-night hosts raised their glasses. And somewhere in America, a bald eagle probably shed a single tear of pride. And let's not pretend this was an isolated event. Trump's entire feud history looks like a Thanksgiving dinner argument bingo card. He's managed to offend war heroes, scientists, Gold Star families, meteorologists, Scotland, and the concept of truth. But Rosie, she was the original thorn in his side, the one that got under the bronzer and stayed there, festering. He tried everything. Public rants, media tirades, even the kind of schoolyard insults that would get a 6th grader suspended, and none of it worked. Why? Because you can't shame someone who has nothing to be ashamed of, especially not when your skeleton closet is so overstuffed it has its own Netflix special.
Trump is in the news again. This young girl, Tara Conner, how old is she? 21. She went out and she was partying. So he held a press conference to announce whether or not she was going to retain her crown. Yeah. And then she started to cry. It's brilliant. And there he is, hair looping, going, everyone deserves a second chance. And I'm going to give her a second chance.
The Trump playbook? Classic. Attack, distract, deflect, rinse, and repeat like a broken record stuck on oops, I did it again. But Rosie? Oh no, she rewrote the script midair. She didn't blink, she didn't back down, and she certainly didn't bother playing nice. She delivered the truth with the precision of a ninja comedian armed with sarcasm sharper than a sushi chef's knife. Meanwhile, Trump was flailing around like a toddler who just got told, no more screen time. And Rosie? She just smirked and reminded everyone that maybe, just maybe, an emperor who forgot his clothes should think twice before throwing punches at someone who literally owns every tailor in town. Mic drop. Oh, and let's not forget the gender dynamics swirling around this disaster. Donald Trump has a PhD in being allergic to women who are smarter, louder, or basically just existing without his permission. Rosie was bold, brash, and 0% interested in handing him a participation trophy for his fragile ego. To Donald, that's like sacrilege. He's used to a court full of yes men and sycophants, not a triple threat hurricane of sass and savage wit. Rosie wasn't just a woman. She was the boss-level final boss in the game of Trump's fragile masculinity. And honey, she was here to play and absolutely crush. The live TV smackdown wasn't just a Rosie versus Trump showdown. It was basically a masterclass in public shaming, served with a side of, you brought this on yourself. Picture this, a guy who built his entire empire on bluster, bravado, and the subtle art of Twitter tantrums finally meets someone who doesn't just clap back, but drops a full-on comedy grenade right in his lap. Rosie wasn't there to play nice. She was there to roast, toast, and turn Trump's ego into a cautionary tale for anyone who thinks yelling louder makes you right. And the best part? The audience was practically salivating, because there's a special kind of joy in watching a man who talks about himself like he's the eighth wonder of the world get humiliated by someone who actually knows how to wield sarcasm with surgical precision. No groveling, no weak comebacks, just pure, unfiltered sass served with a megawatt smile. It was like watching a reality TV meltdown and a roast battle collide, except this time the guy on the receiving end wasn't just embarrassed. He was publicly dismantled, and the world loved every second of it. And here's the real kicker. Rosie didn't need a political campaign, a cult following, or a fake university to make her point. She needed a microphone and 5 uninterrupted minutes. Meanwhile, Trump needed a teleprompter, 3 assistants, a bucket of Adderall, and still couldn't form a coherent sentence without inventing a new word that sounds like a sneeze. And when the dust settled, all that remained was Trump's wounded pride limping off stage, clinging to relevance like it was a mail-order steak subscription. So let's wrap this roast up in gold foil and serve it at a MAGA rally, shall we? Because Rosie O'Donnell didn't just embarrass Donald Trump, she exposed the man behind the bluster, the wizard behind the curtain, the CEO of smoke and mirrors who couldn't survive 5 minutes of unscripted honesty. And no matter how many times he rage posts, rewrites history, or rants at ghost teleprompters, that moment lives rent-free in the public consciousness. It was the day Trump's ego finally met its match, and the nation watched as it spontaneously combusted in real time.